I am about to talk about magic mushrooms. But first,
In a garden where magic shrooms grow, sprouting wisdom for all to know. They whisper tales true and change your view, making life's colors to glow. Some fear us, some give us sneer. Close their minds won't let us near. They're scared of the change, find the new strange, and cling to what they hold dear. But for those brave enough to taste, the world opens, there's no time to waste. You'll laugh, you may cry, you'll soar high in the sky, and a reality freshly laced. So don't be afraid, give us a try, like a bird that is learning to fly. We're mushrooms so wise, a delightful surprise, unveiling a life that's no lie.
I like that. That was a limerick given to me by AI. Basically, I wanted to share a story. I wanted to share my journey in psychedelic mushrooms, how it changed everything, and how everything is possible. And I want to just play it out there so that you see that this is insane. First, though, we have to do some disclaimers. We have to talk about what we're about to talk about because it's a matter of freedom of speech. This is not intended for you to do mushrooms. I believe that people need to actually know themselves through personal development before they even attempt trying the sacred medicine that is clearly here to do some magic with us all, for those ready to hear it. So, with all that said, I will also provide you with yet another disclaimer, like this, bam, and in text, bam. I'm going to remove this. This video might broaden your perspective, leading to a different view on plant medicine, specifically psilocybin mushrooms. If you still have to tell yourself that you know all you need to know about reality and life in general, this video might not be for you, as you might get triggered in ways you might not enjoy. This is best suited for open-minded freedom seekers who are looking for answers. To which I know there is a fuck ton because my inbox is starting to glow purple and red. Hot. That's what my point was. So I'm gonna make this so that you don't have to ask that many questions. Hopefully this video will make sure that you know everything that you need to know for your step further on this journey. And it's an amazing journey, so hang tight, Buttercup, because this is gonna change your entire reality. And I hope that it will provide you with what I've seen it provide for so many others. Let us begin with the most logical place, the discovery of the medicine, or the medicine risk discovery. I found this medicine in 2018. That's when my life completely changed and everything just shifted, transformed. But it happened over time. You see, before that, I had been working for years trying to do something new for myself, trying to do something that was setting my life and my family and everyone I knew to a completely different level of quality, if you will. I was sick of being in a position where I didn't have the ability, the time, the energy, the money, whatever the case may be, to do what I wanted to do with my life. So I figured I wanted to change that. It took years, many, many years. But after I found this tiny little plant medicine, this tiny little shroom, everything shifted. But it didn't happen just by me finding this mushroom. Just finding this was actually a process in itself because I started with learning about meditation. I got a coach and he told me to start doing new things. And because I had paid him, I didn't want to kind of throw out that money. So I actually did what he told me. I started to read, I started to meditate, I started to implement things in my life, I started to incorporate new habits, I started to shower ice cold water in the morning, I started to try to work out, that didn't work out. Hey, nice one. All these different things led me to find new perspectives of life. So in meditation, I went deep. I saw something that I had never seen before. It was almost like a psychedelic trip without ever having tried psychedelics. I did not know how to react. As I was sitting there and thinking and contemplating and reflecting to the best of my ability, I found that there are things that you could bring you even further into meditation. medicine. Now I found cannabis first. I started to look into how could I go deep. I found cannabis and I went deeper. And then I was like, holy crap, that was something completely different. What is this magic? And of course, I had to start to learn how to navigate myself, how to breathe into the discomfort, how to not take all the things that had happened to me in the past as the thing that defined me today. A whole bunch of processes and things I had to go and check and do things with. Just basically accept the fact that they had happened and the fact that I was here now and I was doing something to create a different future. I just had to accept it. And that is hard sometimes. Then I learned about psychedelics. Boy, oh boy, I did not know anything. The first trip was LSD. I had studied it for some time, like the psychedelic effects. I had studied mindset. I had studied some consciousness principles. I had started delving into things that I had never delved into before. I get invited by a few friends of mine who are experienced trippers, mind you. And they just had a back to back trip. They had taken a tab of LSD in an undisclosed location and an undisclosed time in history. They had taken a strip of LSD or a tab, and then 12 hours later, they invite me. Now, at that time, they ingest a second strip or a second tab of LSD. That got interesting because they were already on a bad trip. Now, I did not know that at the time. I had just learned a few things about what I could expect in psychedelics. So I took this tab, and all of a sudden, that lava lamp on the table did things that it did not do just moments before. I was kind of blown away because I can see that. That is something that I don't have to imagine because it is literally right there doing the things that I'm seeing it do. How peculiar. And then I see the other people, these experienced people who brought me in and I thought they were going to guide me in whatever fashion that might be in terms of how much I knew at that time. I had no idea about trip sitting. I didn't even think that was a thing. I had no idea about anything. I was a Bambi on the ice. So here they are, having a bad trip. And I end up guiding them. Turned out to be a very good trip. Not the trip itself, but the day after, the clarity day. I couldn't sleep that night, but I helped someone do something that was supposed to be impossible. I read the manual of a carding machine, a very expensive kind of equipment to create wool. And to fix this, normally they would have received or they had to acquire a expert from the company, from Canada. That's a long way, and just getting that person to Norway to fix that thing would cost a lot of money. And actually, when she said how much, I was kind of blown away. So I checked out the manual. I read that thing quicker than I've ever read anything before. And that's probably because I started reading after I got my coach. So that was already becoming a habit. Then I see the contact number. I had already started to form an idea of what could be wrong. So I call the number on the brochure. I get in contact with, let's just call him Tim. Can't remember his name for some reason. So I call Tim and I say, "Hey Tim, this is Tor from the other cold north. Look, I'm having a problem with the carding machine, and I believe it might be the little lever up on 205L, if that makes sense to you." And he's like, "Oh yes. So you mean that it kind of stops the feeding of the wool into the actual drum, right?" I was like, "Yes, exactly, Tim. That's what's going on, and I need to figure out how to fix this because we don't really want to pay more than we have to if you're going to charge us $2,000 just for the plane ticket over here. Understand?" "Of course, Tor, of course. So what you could do is just try to do what you just told me." And by that time, I had already said, "What if I take this rubber hammer and then I just clink it a few millimeters to the right? Shouldn't that then activate the sensor that I was looking for that wasn't clearly not doing anything now because that part of the machine was malfunctioning?" And he's like, "Why, yes, that sounds like a very good idea. That's probably what I would have done if I came over there." "Great, Tim, thank you." I hang up. I go out to the carding machine, and out there, I do the thing. and it works afterwards. And I was like, that's not normal. What I did now, that's not normal. So I got deeper into the rabbit hole. I started to study things. My brain works in this way. It itches and scratches if I cannot figure out the answer to the question that I have in my head. Literally why you're watching this right now. The reason the quality on this thing is as it is because I wondered, is that possible? Well, let's figure that out then, right? And it looks freaking amazing, but that's not the point. So I had to figure out the answer to this. I was so freaking obsessed with learning more about consciousness. So I got into quantum physics, of course, and epigenetics, and all the things that I thought every single person who ever tried psychedelics went into. Personal development became a lifestyle. It was like, oh my God, Jim Rohn, right? Giving all the advice of how to go through life. I don't know. He doesn't talk like that, but is it Jim Rohn, right? You have to check him out. He's amazing. Ram Dass came into my life. Alan Watts, all of these great people. And then I learned about Timothy Leary and this guy who went down to the frickin' the South Americas and he found this Maria woman. And then she talks about this magical mushroom. And then all of a sudden, Time magazine publishes this article about magic mushrooms. It was a huge thing back then. This was back in the 60s or 50, back then. So I started to learn a lot about the history. I got a book called Immortality Key, A Secret Religion with No Name by Brian Murarescu. That changed my entire fucking life because that showed me what religion has done to suppress this medicine. Just blew my mind. And then I found Graham Hancock and Joe Rogan started to talk about these things and Mike Tyson came out. Mushrooms were everywhere. Don't ignore the signs. So I started to really learn about Paul Stamets and how he got from being an amateur mycologist to now being a fucking world leader within the field, right? He has his own freaking character on Star Trek. While they're using the mycelial network in space to teleport. Because that's how magical mushrooms are. Like, the stories that comes out of these things, you can't fucking make those things up. It's insane. And it's very much like they're based on the truth that you just know when you do them. Who knew? It's almost like they're alien messengers, but we're not going to go into that right now. The thing is, I learned a lot. I learned about the growth structure of the mushroom, the hyphae and the mycelial network and how they get nutrients and fucking rhizomorphic the nutrition systems and stuff. That's the last two words there. Probably that didn't make sense. But I learned everything that I could about this. And I found cubensis, Psilocybe cubensis. I tried that. And lo and behold, it was completely different to LSD. It was not the same at all. It was completely different. I had a pink filter on my eyes. And it felt more gentle, in an undisclosed location at an undisclosed time in history. I was walking around seeing things that I hadn't seen before. It was the same thing, I just saw it from a different perspective, a very pink perspective. And as I was going around there thinking, what the fuck is this? And it was about, 3 grams the first time? Horribly prepared. Like it didn't, I don't think they were dried even. No, I think they came from a freezer, fresh, and then just tossed straight into the boiler. And I think it was boiling. It was not simmering. It was not even cooling off afterwards. It was way above the degree that it should have been. But that's not the point. It actually worked. So I learned quickly from my mistakes. I believe that people should always learn from experiences. Fail fast, fail hard, and fail quickly. Because if you do that, you're going to know what to not do the next time. So after that, I just, that was just tossing fuel on the fire. And I was like, holy shit, there are different kinds of this thing? Now, I had learned a little bit about indica and sativa, like different strains in cannabis and how different strains had different effects and how you can do this with that and that with this. And I was like, that's a completely different world to me. How the heck is this possible? My world had shifted. Then I find out that the freaking mushroom has the same thing. Golden teacher will do something different than a Mexican. Acirensis, never tried it, but I'm pretty fucking sure that it was going to do something different to Semilanceata. And Amanita muscaria has something completely different to all the other things, because that's muscinol and not psilocybin and psilocin. So so many things in this mushroom kingdom just started to really pop up everywhere, and my brain was overwhelmed very quickly. Over time, it started to simmer down, and I figured out that there's a freaking thing that's growing in my fucking yard, and it's called Psilocybe Semilanceata. Liberty Cap. The thing, that little fella right there, loves those tufts, you know? Sheep, those have become an indicator now. They're not animals anymore, they have become messengers of hope. The thing is, I started to learn a whole bunch about things I had never even considered. And it was more of the hunt, it was more of the knowledge gathering than the actual trip that excited me. And it was also the clarity day after the trip that really got me excited, because that's when I was seeing results that I'd never seen before. And then I started to learn about all these things that people are doing during the trips, and I was like, what the fuck? That's insane, right? So, of course, let's talk about what that was, because it changed my entire reality. The effects of this thing, and I would say that the peripheral effects, if you will, or the side effect of the trip, not the trip itself. Do not expect to take a mushroom and then end up with taking the similar thing as taking a red pill, and all of a sudden you just pop out of the matrix. That's not what this is. The effects of my neurons were firing more rapidly, growing new neural networks. I learned about neurogenesis, the forming of new neurons, and neuroplasticity, the ability to change old neurons, and how psilocybin and psychedelics actually freaking promoted this thing. So now I was like, what? What? I learned about synesthesia, that some people can see a color, but they will see a number instead. You know, the brain is communicating on different centers, basically. And that psychedelics does the same thing. It makes your brain, instead of just connected to your sight, go to the sight area of the brain, taste to the taste area, and all that stuff, you're starting to smell colors and taste rainbows. You know, because now all the categories are talking to each other. I was like, what? What? That's insane. What can be done with that? How is that useful, right? Because it has to be significant. And then I was like, into that rabbit hole. That's a big rabbit hole. I find the wolf. Now, the wolf changed my entire reality. But the thing is, I always were alone. I would never change. I would never share this with anyone because I was scared shitless about what would happen if I did this with other people. That's something that I didn't want to face, right? So I started to teach, or I started to learn about how other people did this, and I was like, but okay, you do that, but have you tried this? Oh, you listen to that? Interesting. I want to listen to that. You eat mangoes? What does that do? Changes your life. That's what it does. Mango is a freaking mango. There's like no explanation for it. It's a freaking masterpiece of nature. Enough about that. I started to learn and started to implement different things to create my very own little ceremony, if you will. Well, that was not intentional. In this ceremony, it became very intimate to me. It became very significant to me. You know, I sat there in my lavabo and just stared out into nothing, looked at the mountains dancing, started to meditate. Then I started to go into dark places. Then I started to have only a fire, as the fire you're watching back here. If you have a fire that is lit up by a steel-cut wolf, it does something. It makes you think, it makes you ponder, it makes you feel things that you didn't do before. So all of a sudden, it became more about the frequency. Because the frequency is something that I really studied in terms of quantum physics and electromagnetic fields and the Schumann resonance and all of those things. A law of attraction, for instance, when you combine all these things with what many have been seeing on a psychedelic trip, and now I'm just speaking from my own experience, but also some other people have seen the same things, it makes sense then to see what else is there in terms of frequency. So I went into this place to create an energy, to create an experience that would raise that frequency to the max, which is very easily done by the horn, by the way. I can show you the horn. I'm going to wake up the neighbors with it. But nope, I'm not going to do that because then I have to fuck up my beautiful backgrounds. I'm not going to do that right now. That's going to have to be a cliffhanger. But just the horn frequency in itself raised the vibrations. Then the music that we played around the fire started to raise the vibrations. And then I understood that I could fucking raise vibrations through a narrative. I could talk to people and I could dive into their soul, and I'm talking literally here. Like, I've seen things now that have made me completely shift my entire perspective on what's possible during a soul merge, which I only thought was possible during sex. It's not. It's possible through a lot of different things, and I have so much to figure out in terms of that because it's very recent. Thing is, I could tap into people now. I could see where their magic was. I could tap into the magic and then fuel that fire from a distance. And then I could almost see the energy just rip. And then you could feel, if you do that, if you just add all these components and you set it up and you plan it out, not plan it out so that you ruin it, of course, but you make sure that the experience is creating an energy that just raises you up. Holy shit! The things that you can learn, the things that you will see, the whole golly. It shifts your entire perspective. Your entire freaking status quo, your way of operating, your way of thinking, seeing, understanding, feeling, interacting, reacting. Everything starts to change. And then you start to see things being manifested. That's where things start to get interesting for a lot of people. So that's where we're also going to go now. When you operate on a high level of frequency, and let's just make this simple. If love is a high frequency and hate is a low frequency, we just want to stay in the love, right? If that love is so fucking profound that you have love for all the things in your life, let's say that you love your life so much that when you are tasked in meditation to dream about your ideal place of relaxation, you will automatically see yourself meditating because there is no place that you feel better and more relaxed than with yourself. All the other places, like on a beach or whatever, that's just something that you can do any time. So you love your freedom. You love the flow. You love everything. Then you have the love for your family, your friends, your kids, your partner, all these different things. And if you have any unresolved relationships, going up there, facing the fear, and acknowledging that it has happened, accepting the past, forgiving the future, whatever it has to be, within reason, of course, because some people are fucking monsters. But make sure that you are rid of the karma, if that makes sense. Go into the meditation or into the situation, face the fear, get the experience, release the trauma, and then you have more love for that part. So more channels of love, if you will. The more channels of love you get, the more aligned you get. And we had to fucking coin I'm speaking English and Norwegian at the same time here. Stop. We had to coin a completely new term. Esalese. It is currently being written into psychology history. I'm not sure how that works, but a good friend of mine who I introduced the concept to is a very smart person with a PhD and currently going into doing another PhD because why not? Why not have all the PhDs you can, right? But she heard about the concept. She started to write about it. She was fascinated about it. Now she's writing it in her thesis, which are things that can go into the actual thing, like the field of psychology. Because of fucking mushrooms. Because of seeing things differently. Seeing things in terms of energy and love. And then the channels. Just massive amounts of love channels that just goes into one thing. And then the less friction you have, the more easy it is to manifest because energy attracts more of the same. And so you're going to start seeing that you are thinking things that is popping up in your reality all the fucking time. Be careful about what you think in that situation. Because if you start to think, I feel like having a new adventure, then that fucking adventure is going to come soon. Very soon, depending on how open you are. I had it happen in 2 weeks. I said I felt an adventure coming. I would like to have an adventure, basically. 1 week after, I get a call from one in the community, a tribe member, a brother. He says, I'm now living my dream life. And this wouldn't have happened if we didn't start talking. Now, I'm about to hit this goal this month. I want to invite you to come here so that we can have a proper meeting, proper celebration, and proper reflection of what's going on. And I was like, yeah, I have so much that I want to show you, because all of these things, of course, leads to new things. I'm going to go and show you a little bit about that in a minute. But it was the perfect time. Couldn't have been more perfect. So I say yes. I tell my partner I have to go there. I think I need to, because I hung up in him, told him that I'm going to give him a date. Excuse me. So I hung up, I talked to my partner, and then I get another voice note from his brother, which is also full of gratitude for what we've done together. And I start crying like a baby. I was so overwhelmed. I did not know what to do, because how the fuck do you react to that? It was the best feeling, the most humbling feeling, and the most scary feeling that I've ever had in my life up until that point. Because it was confirmation that my next chapter is now happening. It's manifesting. It's coming right now. The thing that I've been feeling and working and doing everything that I can to reach is now right there, because it just happened. And then just accepting the fact that it just happened. The only thing that I have to do is send a message saying, yes, I choose this date, this time. I did. He sent the ticket. He misbooked the plane, so I had to go to another airport. That turned into another adventure, and I told him. He was feeling shit about it. It was like, oh, I shouldn't have missed the airport. I was like, dude, now I get to see the fucking west side of Norway with all these amazing fields of liberty caps. I can just map out all the hikes I want to do this autumn. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be an adventure. But then I feel and I see and I sense new things. And this is where things get really interesting, because I have seen where I'm going very clearly. It's like when I say, when you're going to relax, you just fall into where you are because you're so relaxed already. When I think about things in my future, when I do things that is directly affecting my future, I can see the side effects of that action, and I can see the future coming. I can see it building itself. And then I was like, but that is crazy. So I figured I was going to announce the fact that I was going to document this journey. And it was going to symbolize my 10-year journey. Because I've been on this journey for a long time. And so I said to the new technology that we have today, which people need to fucking snap out of it and use it to better the fucking planet before we are being annihilated, because there are so many idiots in the world. Rant. I used this technology to feed me ideas on what to do with this, because this was insane. And because this technology, AI, has knowledge from all over the planet, like everything online since the beginning to 2021, and now being able to go online, it has all the thing you need. So I asked, how do I do this? Help me do that. I would like to do that. That sounds amazing, right? And I come up with this thing, this concept of creating a microcosm inside of a macrocosm, so that the week that I spent up north in Norway was going to symbolize my entire journey. 1 week for 10 years. And it's going to have different things throughout the entire journey that symbolizes the actual events that I went through during the 10-year journey. Quite ambitious project, yes. It's not that ambitious, though, if you just have to pick up your phone and just say that, holy shit, it just happened. This is what's going on right now. This is what I think is going to happen. And then the next video, holy shit, it actually happened. And then just the entire week was like that. I just documented. I was in flow. I was inspired. I picked up the camera when I felt inspired. I did nothing that I didn't want to do, and I just went with the flow. So many things happened during that just 1 week that I cannot really communicate it yet, because I have to reflect and put it into pieces that fits a narrative. Because right now, so many things happened that I'm still overwhelmed, and it's like a month since I was up there, which is insane. But I come down and I see that, holy fucking shit, this is actually a thing. You can manifest. If you're living a life in flow, you can attract more of the same energy, setting you up to do whatever the fuck you want. In a dream reality that you cannot even fucking fathom right now. Because it seems like you always get more than you expect, because you're open for it. And every fucking spiritual teacher has said this since the beginning. Be open to receive. And then when you do, don't be surprised if you get more than you asked for. So that's why I say, be fucking careful about what you think. Because it can come to life quickly. Very quickly. I made a video about this yesterday, actually. So if you want to know more about just the manifesting part, go to whatever you see branded all over the place. You're going to find it. Either my Facebook, YouTube, wherever. The point is, this medicine has changed my entire reality. It starts with you just pouring water into a cup. Something as trivial and simple as that. It can lead you into looking for a place to go onto a podcast that you were invited to because of the journey that you've had during this freaking adventure. While experiencing things that is not supposed to be possible. Let me share a tiny story about the picture you see where I'm basically in heaven. We're sitting in a hotel lobby at that point. Right before that, we were sitting down in a park in our boxer shorts. So we figured we were going to go out ice bathing. This was straight after I told my dad that everything is going to work out with the all automated toilet that you ordered. We're going to get the top model. Don't you worry, Daddy. I did not say Daddy. Dad. And everything worked out. We are now having a automated, lighted, ring-heated, self-flushing and washing toilet in the bathroom that we refurnished. Amazing story. That's what I mean. Like, the stories that you get in life is gonna be fucking insane. This is just a normal day if you live according to your flow. So we were going into that hotel after we had been in town trying to figure out if we're gonna go skinny or just in our boxer shorts through the city, or follow the beach like normal, decent people with our towels and stuff, and then find a place to ice bathe. We come over and we start to approach the docks, and there's another guy coming up from the water, and he says hello. No, I say hello, like-minded person, because there's a dude in the fucking swim trunks coming out of the ocean, right? So he is clearly like one of us. We start to talk to him as we start to get undressed, and then the guy here on the left says, we have to do some Wim Hof exercises. I was like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Because I was scared shitless about doing Wim Hof exercises in the middle of a fucking park in the middle of a southern city in Norway. The biggest city that we have in my vicinity, which is like, there's a lot of people there. But we did. We stood there. We did the horse dance. The ooh, ooh, ooh. And we really let it rip. Like, when you get to that point where you just, and as loud as you can, as free as you can in front of a lot of people, when you get to that freedom and just like, oh, fuck it, I've already made a fool about myself. So let's just see where this goes. It could be entertaining for me and those people watching this at the moment. We did that until we got warm. We got into the water. I slip and fall on my ass as I'm going into the water. So I cut my hand and was like, oh, good start. Into the water. And then it's like just getting control of your breath, right? Swimming around in there. Just, oh, I just peed. I'm relaxed, If you can pee in ice water, I would say that you are in control of your body. If you can breathe and pee at the same time. So we were there for quite some time until we were completely numb, basically. But my hands were fucking killing me. And I thought, shit, I might have actually hurt myself on this fall. But we start to swim back to the docks, and we go up, and then this guy who came up from the water when we arrived, he is on the final stages of getting dressed, right? Putting up the beanie and the jacket and stuff. And he had just jumped in and got straight out again. He had just seen us being in there for like 10 minutes or so. So he was very fascinated about what's going on. And then instead of us drying up and, getting warm, we just head past our clothes up to the park, and we started doing more Wim Hof exercises where we just did the woodchuck, where you just, whoo! I don't want to do all that here because I can ruin my office, but we started doing the same thing again. And now people are amassing around us. So many people are watching the spectacle, right? 3 dudes in a triangle on a park in boxer shorts, wet from just having ice bathed for 10 minutes in cold November winds and rain. It was not really the thing that you expect to see this day, right? But after that, we sat down to meditate. That's when things got interesting because, first of all, it didn't take long until I was traveling. I was not in my body anymore, but I could still feel the energy in my body. My hands were killing me, and after a while, I figured that's not injury. That is actually energy. I can feel the energy now. I can feel the warmth pouring through my palms. And as I did, I also felt my spine erect. I felt my breathing go automatically into conscious breathing and just deep, really deep, fulfilling breathing. And then I felt my head just beaming from the top. And I felt my neck being straightened by this beam, like it freaking stringing my neck. I was like, that's interesting, right? And so I start to cry. For some reason, my eyes just start to water up. And I thought it was the wind, but it didn't make sense because my eyes were closed, right? And then I figured, no, this is actually tears just pouring out of my eyes. Well, I'm just gonna let that happen. And then I was traveling again, and then I started to feel warm, and then I started to feel really warm, and then I started to feel warm to the point where I needed to sweat almost. Like I felt like I was gonna exacerbate. Is that a word? It sounded like masturbate. Sweat. We sat like that for a long time. And I traveled to unknown galaxies because I also had some knowledge in how to travel mentally, like astral projection and these Silva methods and all these different things that you can do to travel inside of your own mind, which is insane. And I think there's so much more for me to explore. But as I was exploring an area, I started to hear this. Yeah, I was as shocked as you are. So I start to travel back to my mind and my body, and it was hard. I think I spent like 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes or 1,000 years. I have no idea. But it was hard to get back to consciousness because I was trying to open my eyes, but I was not really fitting my body yet. There was a lot of things going on there, but I still heard the freaking shaking of another person. I was like, God damn, he's probably dying. He needs help. So after a while, my eyelids started to move, started to actually do stuff. And I look in front of me, I see the third participant fucking blue around the mouth and shaking and wet and just, he did not have a good time. I was wondering, why the fuck is he sitting like that? Why hasn't he gotten up and gotten dressed or warmed up and all that stuff? And then it just dawned on me like, fucking hell, how long have I been sitting here? And why is my boxers dry? And why am I dry? If he's so wet, how come I dry? Holy shit, that actually happened. All of these things happen inside of my head at the moment. And then I look at the dude to the left, and he just opens his eyes. Just like I saw that he had traveled and that he was struggling himself. He looks at me, and all we had to do was like, yeah, we knew, right? So I was thinking, if he got the same thing that I got, that's interesting. But clearly he didn't, so he's freezing his ass off right now. But the fucking discipline and the intention to stay there, fucking respect, bro. He really wanted to be a part and seeing and experiencing, but I think that the cold, he didn't zone out. And I don't know why we zoned out. I don't know why that happened in the way it did. Maybe it was because we focused on each other and the fact that we were doing this thing and we had a very clear intention of what was going on. Or the Wim Hof. I have no freaking idea, but it was really interesting. But that led to us exploring more things. And this story that I just shared with you were also shared on the podcast that was opening completely new doors for me. Like I through that podcast, I now talk to journalists and researchers and other psychonauts all around the world. Some of them working in government in Jamaica and stuff. It's insane. But that because of that picture that you're seeing right there, that's me just knowing that holy shit, this is happening. It took us further to the tribe experience, which is far up in the mountains, where we can experience these things as a group in a safe environment. But just the fact that I can rent out this entire location, an entire compound, to have these gatherings is also because of what that freaking little mushroom taught me. It's insane. And that has just grown into a bunch of things, but most of all, a freaking brotherhood of crocs. That picture means a lot. It does. But the thing is, this shouldn't have been possible. Nothing of what I've been telling you so far should have been possible. Because in 2007, I had $4 million in debt because I torched a fucking mall in my drunken stupor. I was drunk with a, at the time, friend, and we were breaking into this freaking mall and torched it instead, landing me $4 million in debt. And which spiraled into more. Like the negativity of me having a blood clot coming out of that and then being put in jail only to be released because I didn't have any other prior offenses, and also I was pretty innocent looking. They just released me after 2 weeks waiting for trial. But I knew that I was going to have to pay for that shit. And because of my blood clot, my thoughts were not really aligned with positivity and opportunity. It was very self-victimized and lazy and just blaming everything but myself, that kind of thing. So I started to look for solutions to pay for that. The only thing that made sense for me was to start a criminal empire and start to selling drugs and stuff, and then committing 3 armed robberies after I had been in the national media for the fucking fire. And now I'm being charged for 3 armed robberies in the South, in the Christian belt, and they are basically talking about this as arson. Arsonist is now charged for robbery. Or suspected, charged. A 21-year-old man does not admit, what is that? Guilt, I guess. No, not guilt. Responsibility? Not guilty. You're pleading not guilty or you're pleading guilty, right? I pled not guilty. I was guilty. For robbery of Pit Stop, one of 3 places. That thing tossed me in jail for 3 years. In there, I faced suicide and a whole bunch of things. My lawyer went into national news saying that I was going to be a death victim for life. I was never going to get out of this shit. So I had an arson, I had an inoperable blood clot, I had 3 armed robberies, 3 years in prison, where 7 months of those were in complete solitary confinement because they tried to break me in the beginning by putting me into complete solitary confinement, meaning that there was no letters, no TV, no visitors, no nothing, in a little cell on top of a building with no grass, with nothing. And they put me there for 2 weeks. That was what it said on the paper. And then they found a loophole, because if they apply for a new 2 weeks after it has passed, after 13 days passed, then technically it's not 1 stay, it's 2. So all of a sudden I got a new letter like, you have now been sentenced to 14 more days in complete solitary confinement with no visitation or letters or media, because we don't want you to disturb your case. At that point, I was starting to stand on my head and singing in the national anthem naked, because what the fuck else are you going to do? I started to draw a lot. I started to read Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a fucking godsend. But I was in there, and I got those letters for 3 months. The Geneva Convention and all those things. It doesn't say that you can do that to a human. I think it says the complete opposite, actually. But they found that loophole, and so they kept me in solitary confinement. And after the 3 months, I was so fucked up after having seen how I was gonna die if I just put my head to the side at an angle at the sink and just drop my body weight. That should do it. Or like they do in the movies, if they really want to, they can hang themselves in the doorknob, and I could do that with a piece of cloth from my bed sheets. That's no problem. I could probably electrify myself if I cut over the wires and just licked the fucking cord. Many, many ways to do the things that I really fought not doing. I was in a really low place, and I was also amongst a lot of other people that scared the crap out of me. One of them actually had a fucking a razor blade, in his mouth that he learned how to spit by his uncle, so that if people came too close or was too much up in his face, he could just, and he knew where the jugular was. Like, he knew how to really inflict damage with that thing. I was like, what the hell? This is interesting. That little stay changed me forever. Because I had been really familiarizing myself with my own mortality. I had been able to adapt myself to the environment I was in terms of, this was maximum security. So there was a lot of people in there that was not really the people that you want to hang out with necessarily. Like, hey, what are you in for?
Oh, just stabbed my missus in the face and ate her heart in front of her kids.
Could you pass a salt? You get weird. It's like, why do you have such small muscles? Aren't you ashamed? He says, looking at me from his 3-meter tall body. It was like, and I'm pretty tall. I'm almost 2 meters. Like, I'm 187 centimeters tall. Meaning that if I have to look like that, he's pretty fucking big. And his biceps was like my waist. I was like, damn! We became friends. I have this tendency to figure out that if I'm gonna die, at least I want to be friends with the people who's gonna kill me. So I got a lot of friends in there, which is probably one of the big things that you should look at. Judicial system. I mean, if you go to jail, it's a fucking school. You're gonna learn a fucking ton of things that you did not learn other places. I guess, like you could search the interwebs for how to do things to another person or things that would actually flag something in a database somewhere. If you're in prison, people have done that, so they were just gonna give you the fucking recipe for how to create acid. You get my point? It's a fucking it's an intensive workshop. So I don't think that prisons are very rehabilitative. They could make things worse. My humble opinion. But see, that prison stay changed me because I now had a whole bunch of different things in my backpack of mental issues, I guess. When I got out, I was certain that the cops were following me because I saw them following me, like this unmarked car with fucking uniformed people in it. They weren't really discreet, to be honest, and I knew that they had photographed me and videotaped me from my room because I saw the footage in the courtroom. So there was a lot of things that I was like, they do those things. I know that because I remember it. But all of a sudden, things started to cool down. I couldn't eat with my back towards something that I didn't know yet. I couldn't eat with my back towards a opening, a door, a window, a person, whatever. I had to eat knowing exactly what was going on behind me. And there was a lot of different other things, like me talking right after the people on the TV spoke, because that's what I've been doing for 3 years to keep myself entertained. Habits, man. You get habits. Weird ones. Masturbation being a very big one that you want to really start working with stopping as soon as you can, because it's not normal doing it that often. It's not healthy either, I think. But point is, I had now gone through a whole bunch of things, and I'm not even covering the biggest. Like, this is just me from the top of my head trying to say why I should not be in the position that I am today. Right? But something happened that put me on that trajectory. After I got out of prison, I wanted to never go in there again. I had a call. I wanted to wake people the fuck up. So I created a project called the Wake Up Call. And it was basically me about, I was just talking about my experiences in jail at the different levels, and how small things like snoozing your alarm clock could lead to killing a grandmother for her money. All those things, like bunch of things that you think about in prison and that you don't really think about normally. So I came out knowing this. I was not going to go back. And we started a pub together, me and my friend. That didn't work out. A whole bunch of other things happened. I got a job at a factory. You know, because you do whatever you want to do for money, and then you feel like you have achieved something when you have a job at a factory and you're hating life, and you just, whenever you're free, you're going to the bar to drink away your sorrows. That's not really life. I'm just saying. But luckily, I had a blood clot that kept me from staying conscious when I did things. So if I got dressed too quickly, I just, I didn't fall asleep. I just fainted because it did stuff. It was like there to, it hated me like it owed me money, or like I owed it money, and the pain was unbearable. So I was in the factory job, for 2 years until I couldn't anymore because HR said that it's not safe to start fainting around molten aluminum. And I was like, yeah, you do have a point, but I have that the debt. I had to pay the debt. It was hard. Actually, I didn't owe that much money for the debt, because you're probably wondering, how the fuck did he get rid of $4 million? Well, this was my first offense. So the government, 1 month, they just paid $1 million. All of a sudden, in July 2011, I think it was, got this email saying that you just paid 11 million crowns, like $1 million. And I was like, how can you react to such a letter? I still wish I framed the fucking bill. You are sentenced to pay $4 million within 2 weeks of this notice. Even the lawyer laughed. Or the judge laughed, rather. Everyone laughed. even me. So basically, after a while, they started to withdraw things because I was paying everything I had. Like, if I got a paycheck, most of it went to my fucking debt. I didn't have a lot to live for. I didn't have money. I was earning fucking a lot of money, but I didn't have the money because everything went to fucking debt. Then all of a sudden, after I had paid a fuck ton of money, I received news that I didn't have that debt anymore. I was done with that debt. I had paid about $100,000 or something. Because I had shown will to pay. I was like, holy fuck. I never expected that to happen. Lucky for me, though, because now I was starting to faint at the job. I couldn't stay conscious anymore. Right? Ironically, I also became a certified fireman at the job. Don't know if you remember, but I was previously known to have some history with fire. You know. But I got a son as I lost the job. Didn't make things better. Actually made things more stressful because now I had a life that I had to that depended on me. He needed me to be a decent human. And in 2015, I had started to look for other solutions. You know what I told you about the fact that my brain itches when I don't find a solution? I had looked for ways to fix the income problem, but not having to work a factory. There had to be another way to get a job. There had to be another way to get money. There had to be another way to sustain yourself in this world. I mean, like, it just didn't make sense that it wouldn't. A lot of people are doing it, so why not me? So I started that journey, and I got blessed with my son, and he changed my perspective on everything. I was like, okay, now I have a purpose. I have to do something now for him. Now, me and his mother didn't last, but he changed me and got me on my path. And so after this, in 2016, I met a person at a festival. This reframed my entire perspective or understanding of love. That event, that picture even, showed me something that was not supposed to be possible. I'm sitting there with my brother and our friend, and this picture was taken moments after I had seen this beautiful woman coming up from the water, looking me straight into the eye, and I met the gaze. And this was, it was something leading up to this, but the point is, we looked at each other, first time ever. She walks over, she sits on the log, puts my head in her lap, starts stroking me underneath my t-shirt, on the chest, and says, hey. And I, of course, I answer, hey. Wow. And we start talk as if we've known each other forever. There was a dent in the universe that happened at that very moment, but I was not aware. I was part of the sheep. So I didn't think twice about what happened. I just felt really good, and you can see by the stupid smile on my face. But after she left, we had agreed that I was going to meet her in the festival area a little later. And I felt my life had changed in some way. So another woman across the fire for me, she's looking straight at me, so this is from her perspective. She says, did you know her? I was like, no, I've never seen her in my life. And then she was like, can I take a picture of this, because that was not normal, and that is a very rare event that happened just now, and I'm proud, and I'm very lucky to have been here to witness that. Thank you. Can I take the picture? And I was like, okay, if you want to. I mean, sure. I was drunk as fuck at that point. I was drinking a lot of alcohol, but that was one of the latest, or that was starting at the end of my entire intake or consumption of alcohol. But I didn't see the significance. She sent me this picture, and after the fact, after I started to wake up, I saw what this was. We had literally just been there because we both vibed on that frequency, and we found each other's frequency, and now 7 years later, we're still fighting for a right to be together. So it started a hell of a story, with her not being a Norwegian citizen, coming out of a bad relationship, whom she was married to, now had to be divorced from. I had to track her down I found her. I said that I'm vowing to you that I'm going to make sure that you live the life that you deserve here in this country. And I tried to help her in any way I can. I have shining knight object or shining knight syndrome, which means that if I see someone, a damsel in distress, I can't help myself. I have to do whatever I can to help that person or fix that person. That was my pattern a long time up until I met this woman. She changed everything about me to the better. Just the fact that she said, "Are you tossing your cigarette butts out the window?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah. You're littering nature?" I was like, "Oh shit, I am. What? Why am I doing that?" She made me aware of the things that I was doing that was not really serving a purpose. That was actually a negative thing that I was doing. Over 7 years, we have been back and forth and back and forth. Over things have happened. We have gone through war, whole bunch of shit. But 1 year after, she was with me and we got a daughter. The most awake person that I've seen in my life. She's operating on a completely different 5D level. She's insane in a good way. I have always said, because her mother will say that I feel bad for bringing her into this horrible, toxic, destroyed world. And I say, but think about it. We might have given birth to the first intergalactic precedent. Sky's the limit. There are no limits if you believe that there are no limits. And she has really taught me that there are no fucking limits. So, a year after we got together, we got her, and I got more stressed because I had not figured out where I was going. I had not figured out the money problem. We were living hand to mouth on my income, which was nothing. I was a sex chat operator, for God's sake, which I stopped. Cheers to that. I've probably seen more dick pics than a fucking 15-year-old teenager. So basically, I stopped that. I started to learn about other things: marketing, psychology, advertising, making money online, business, entrepreneurship, all these different things, communication, how to spread an effective message, everything that I could learn in order to change the situation. Because now I had to. In 2018, I then took the plunge. I said to my partner, I need money because I have this course I have to be a part of because they have the secret. His name is Ty Lopez, and he was standing in his garage and he was really in front of a Lamborghini and a bunch of books. He really knows what he's talking about. I promise. So I pay him, I think it was $200 or $300. And in that community, after I started to write down ADA and all these other copywriting things that I had to remember, because those were the secret to changing your life, I saw this person who posted something in the Facebook group that I got with buying the course. And he said that he wanted to give back, and was like this awesome picture of some people, some person going down the railroad tracks, really like, oh, that's inspiring, man. I felt that. So I reached out to him, and he's a coach. So he said, "Well, I can help you. It's $600. That's 3 months." I was like, $600 for 3 months. Ugh. I didn't have money at all. Like, I was literally at a place, and you're gonna see this very soon, where I had to weigh the options between gas and bread. $3. But she had sold her car, so she had this emergency fund, and I basically convinced her that this was a good idea, which it was. And looking back at it now, it was the best thing that could have happened because I changed. I invested. Doesn't matter if it was $20, $600, or $50,000. The fact that I invested everything that we had at the moment, her emergency fund, she, who was not a Norwegian citizen, fighting for her stay in Norway with a very uncertain future ahead of her, agreed to invest this. So I paid him $600, and I started to share what I wanted in life: health, wealth, and relationships. The three core evergreen markets if you're going into marketing. I was not aware or awake or fucking anything. Not conscious. I did not know what I wanted. I had no goals. I had no habits. I had nothing that was going to provide anything of what I was wanting. I basically wanted money for nothing. That's the mentality that most people had. Just, if I put up this system, you're going to give me money, right? But after a while, he started to really implement things. So, or imprint things. I started to read. I started to meditate. I started to do all these things. I started a challenge, a 100-day challenge. He said, what do you want to do to achieve your goal? By this point, I figured I was going to be a travel blogger. So I was going to travel the world and I was going to talk about it, and that's going to make me money. How? I had no idea. I didn't know about any of the things that I know today. So I was very gullible. I said that, well, I don't know. People need to know about me, so maybe I should just start to post online. But what should I post? And he was like, well, I don't know. I don't know. What do you feel? And I said, I think I could do a challenge. Yeah, I could do a 30-day challenge where I just upload videos. He's like, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, well, yeah, but Tai Lopez said that it takes 60 days to implement a habit. I will do 60 days. Not 90 days. That is definitely gonna. Fuck it. I'm gonna do 100 days. 100 days where I'm gonna upload a video every single day where I just share whatever I could. And in the beginning, it was very much like that. It was, hi, I'm Tor. I have no idea what the fuck I'm going to talk about, but it just came out because I started to talk about what I wanted, what I dreamt of, what my goals were, why I was doing what I was doing, and what I hoped to achieve. All these different things, just what from the top of my mind. And so, as this challenge progressed, I started to see results. But during that challenge, at day 40 or something, we got news that my daughter and my fiance was being deported because the Norwegian government had found it so that it was the best thing to do. My then 1-year-old daughter and my fiance was being sent to Chile with no security, no money, basically no place to live at all. There was nothing we could do about it. And I had to scrape together the 10,000 crowns, the 1,000 euros it needed to pay that ticket to send them out of the country. I had to pay for our own deportation, basically. So from that point on, the vibe of the videos were very doom and gloom. I had never experienced that type of pain, and I went online to talk about it. And that removed a whole bunch of limitations in me. And I showed a very vulnerable side that I never shared before, not even to myself, online for the world to see. And it went slightly viral compared to what other videos of mine did. But there was one that really stuck out for me, and that was when I actually deported my family. I recorded that because I knew there's going to be a very powerful transformational emotional anchor that I can look back at to see where I was, to remember that feeling, and to know where I am and where I'm going. This is that video. It was the most horrible event of my life. And at that point, I broke down in the middle of the airport. I fell to my knees and I felt like I died. I had what I now know to be an ego death. Something that I thought I could only get through psychedelics only years after the fact. But I was there and my soul got wiped out. And as I was trying to make sense of what just happened, at that very moment that you see my eyes watered up and everything, I didn't have any money by this point. And the fucking parking ticket was what, $11 or something, which removed my option to eat that day because I was in a very tight spot. Everything was going to shit. My entire life had stopped. I had just seen my daughter and my fiance leave on the other side of a gate. not knowing if or when I was ever going to see them again. I did not know what to do. But in that same video, I cursed the country that I currently inhabit, and I said that now it begins. Now my story starts. This is where I will take back my power. So just watch it. And so I did. I have been working non-stop after that moment. And 8 months and 12 days after that, my family was back in the country. That means that I've gone from $4 million in debt to no debt. More or less. Like I have $30,000 in debt in total, which is stupid money, right? I had lost my family deportation, but I received them. I got them back. I had received the diagnosis of an inoperable blood clot that was going to ruin my life forever. I couldn't become a stuntman, which I wanted to be. I couldn't do anything of things I wanted because everyone said I was going to die if I did. I went for 13 years with my arm like this. Couldn't do shit. It was fucked. Whatever I did to it, it was painful as shit. Then I discovered quantum physics and epigenetics. And today, I can do things that I was not supposed to do. And the doctors are scratching their brains like, what the fuck? This is not supposed to be possible. No, because you think it's supposed to not be possible. That's it. So I continued to work. I continued to grow. I continued to learn everything that I could. I continued to curse the system. I went down and I said, I'm not going to receive any more money from you from here on out. I'm not going to receive any paycheck, any handout. I don't want your help because you are providing me with an invisible prison that I will not be able to escape if you continue to feed me your fucking propaganda and fear. You know, if you earn more than this amount, then you're going to lose this. You don't want that, do you? You're going to need those $2,000 gross each month and then pay for your bills and everything, leaving you with maybe $300 in your bank account at the end. That's going to last you for what, 15 days? No, you have to fight for that. You do not want to earn $100,000 every month or 200. Or fuck, there are people who's making millions of dollars every month. But you believe that you cannot, and that's why you can't. See, we have a choice. Every one of us, we have a choice. And this is what's fascinating, because my journey started with the conscious belief that it was possible and the desire to change. That's how everything started. I was so fucking ready. I could taste it. So I was prepared to go through hell for my commute every day to get to that point. That's not the point. I have to think about filling up $3 just to get to the store to buy a bread. Because if I fill for $4, I won't have enough money for the bread. That's the situation right now. Okay, you're doing good. That's the situation right now. That's bad, right? You can't. If I can do it, if I did it, I'm gonna do it. That all depends on when you're watching this. Actually, I'm sorry about that. If you're watching this 100 days from now, when I'm celebrating the end of the challenge and the changes that came with the challenge, and the work that has come into fruition, yeah, then you can see that it was totally possible. I have worked so hard for this. Yeah, many people will just say, well, you found mushrooms and now you're just sitting in meditation and just thinking that law of attraction works like you think, and then you just picture something in your mind and you're just getting the dream life. That's not how it works. Stop projecting your limiting beliefs then. God damn. You know? Everything shifted because of that. And now, here we are, after the 100-day challenge, 4 years later. Something shifted. Because here it says, from arson and robber to life coach. Arson and brutal robberies is to the past, or belongs to the past. Today, Tor Eric Ornes Seppola, 33, life coach, is a life coach and has dedicated his life to helping others. And down here, they just have to, I'm standing in front of the center that they built on top of the ruins that I torched. He earned a lot of millions of dollars because this building was actually protected. He couldn't do shit about it. He wanted to build complexes on top. But he couldn't until it burned down, and then he could, and he earned a fucking fortune. I think our fates were intertwined, and for a long time I felt like he owed me some money. But honestly, I think it worked out very well. But under here, Tor is standing in front of the building that he in 2007 set fire to. Now he has done his time, and he wants to show others that it's never too late to get your life back on track. Yeah, she didn't know anything about the context because as soon as I mentioned quantum physics, she got all white and scared in her eyes. But it led to this. Today, right now, all these things led to a shift that I could not possibly have imagined. And instead of calling it the 100 challenge, I figured this is something that is so transformational that it has to be something completely different. It is a beast of its own. So now I'm doing saga, a personal saga, self-awareness, growth, and adventure. And I figured that is something that I can live with. That is something that I can leave as a legacy. But a legacy is whatever you want it to be, right? So I figured I can help people go and find that spark in life, and I can help them live every day as an adventure, and I can teach them things that is going to completely redefine their entire paradigms and realities. But what if they don't want what else I have? Because I'm a very multifaceted kind of person. And I've been a coach and done things in very many different areas. So I have so much more to offer. How can I do that then? Well, then just the same way that I packaged the knowledge and created the system for the saga system. I did that for something else called Ragnarok, you know? In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is the end of the old, the beginning of the new. And I was like, that's perfect. In there, I can teach people how they can use their experiences to really create new income streams and to be able to go away from the old life and stepping straight into a new one. This is perfect. I love this. I felt good doing it, right? But it just continued to evolve because the experiences, some business people don't want to hear the word psychedelic. So what the heck? If I love this thing, how can I talk about that then? Well, then I had to create something different altogether. I had to create something that would be understood by the people who actually understood it. So tribe experience came to be. A place where people could just achieve new levels of reality. There is no words to explain what that is, but life will never be the same. That's very apt. That is almost a guarantee. Because it's not like all the other ceremonies and stuff. And I've been on to my fair share. I think I was on, maybe it's not the first actually, no. But not that long ago, in March, I was attending a ayahuasca ceremony that was documented by TV2, a national TV station, to see what was going on inside of an ayahuasca ceremony. Now, I didn't do ayahuasca because I respect the medicine, so I want to do it where it's energetically connected down in the Amazon, in the South Americas. So I was just there to observe, and I learned a whole bunch of things. I do things very differently to what a lot of other people do, and they are the experts. So I figured, well, then I'm doing something right because I see this now. All that because of a little fucking growth thing in nature that is just so innocent. It looks so innocent. Look at that. He looks like he can't do any harm or provide any insights, but dude, that's a rocket ship. That's a rocket ship. That changed my life. So I figured, I know all these things. I help people with these things. Like I don't create websites. I create experiences in digital form or I want to provide an experience with everything that I do. So that's why you're watching this, because I think that so far you probably felt something because you're still watching this, case in point. But this little thing also landed me to create new things, like the field guide for mushrooms and Semilanceata specifically, because that was not a thing in Norway. We didn't have that. You can't buy that. God damn it. My OCD. Do you see that thing on the spine here? That's not the spine. That's supposed to be pages, and it says mock-up. It says brochure mock-up. God damn it, Tor. Well, it looks good. It's basically just an ebook that is covering what I thought was relevant in terms of identifying, storing, and harvesting, and using, and preparing, and setting, and all the things that I could really think of in terms of Semilanceata. And I put that into there, and it became a hit. Now, you might ask, how? Where did it become a hit? Well, I have found a passion, and I was starting to talk about this a lot. Everyone who was willing to listen, I would talk about the gospel of Semilanceata. It was that easy. So I created a alter ego, and I became Bob Hayes.
Bob Hayes wanted to talk about his passions, but he couldn't because he was afraid of what other people thought of him.
But I shared a lot of thoughts and posts and stuff in a group that I found with 140 people online and on Facebook, of course. And after a while, I saw that I could provide so much more with my experience in digital marketing and all these things. So I reached out to the admin and I sent him a message. And a few weeks went by, and then he saw the message and he sent back and he said that, oh, yeah, of course. Because I said, if you make me an administrator, I will put some magic into this and we will create the best thing we can. Does that sound like a deal? He was like, yeah, sure, of course. Do it. So I did. I became the administrator of 140 people who were in this Semilanceata group online. And I was just sharing my thoughts on the topic that we all loved. But it grew. It grew. Now we are at, I took this picture earlier, but there has already been a few people applying to get there. But 6,945 people so far. We're going to probably reach 10,000 this season, which is just a few months away. The reason I'm showing you this is, look at that. It says 6,945 people. It says 5,319 active members from May 25th to June 21st. Now, you might not think that this is very important, but to create a Facebook group that is that active and this void of negativity, there's a lot of short-sighted people in here, I'm gonna admit, but because I've been called a cult leader by trying to help people with what I wanted to provide them while also respecting my boundaries and to charge for my fucking experience. You know, I charged $14. Whenever I went over that, people called me a cult leader, fucking awful human being, and I have no fucking right to post that in this group. The group that I am facilitating. Med did make sense to me either, but that's not the point. So this group continues to grow exponentially all the time. And with every season, more people, right? So I just remember where we started with this. How do you sell a mushroom fucking field guide? Well, you post it in the group that you created for it. And if there's 7,000 people there, at least a few people are going to buy a fucking $14 ebook that is going to help them with what they came to that group to learn. This is the interesting part as well. This is a free group and people come in and we, of course, go through. We have 50% admission. We toss out the other 50% because if you can't answer a few questions, you have no fucking right to be there. I'm sorry. It's just my values. And I think that it is for the best of the group that if people could just willy-nilly get in here without us actually providing a background check, we could have a lot of different scum of the earth. Let's just say it like that. We had many instances where we actually have to block people and stuff. But if we didn't look at the group and cared for the group, it would not have been like this. But people come in for free and they want to know more. And they start to post things like, is this Liberty Cap? And the pictures might look like, it's very hard. If you don't know how mushrooms look, different mushrooms, well, you do now because you can see that mushroom right there. That does not look like a huge red Amanita muscaria, the big fly agaric, the red and white spotted mushroom, or a huge fucking thing, or things that grow on a fucking tree. You know that the thing that you're watching right now, you know that is not something that came from a tree because in the picture it is in grass. Should make sense. Like you would think that people would just like, it's like fish only swimming in water. And that's why I won't find fish in the desert unless they're fossilized. Yes! Yes! I'm not calling people stupid, but goddamn, show some initiative. We have the biggest resource bank in Scandinavia. At least, maybe even we might be closing in on some world, global kind of level now, because thousands of people have added images, tagged them, answered questions, tagged those, and just provided so much value that just by being present in the group, you will not fail to see how this mushroom looks. This is a harm reduction and, you know, a expanding of consciousness kind of group, a information group. We do not sell or provide mushroom because those are illegal, right? But we're using our freedom of speech to share the information about it. People can then just look, because everything there is for the safety reasons of not picking the wrong mushroom. Still, people say, are these Liberty Caps? And they will eat 15 wrong ones, let's say 15 different strains, clearly different strains, and 2 of them poisonous. And then in the comments it says, I hope so because I ate them all. You know, face palm with a chair. You can't. Huh? This is actually an experience that I've had. I'm talking from experience now. I'm kind of speechless. How do you fix that? Well, then I remember in marketing and stuff, some people will pay for a problem that they want to have fixed. Some people have more money than they care for, but they want answers to a problem. So I created the ebook. It had to solve some problems, and it did. Then I created a course. Maybe that solved some problems, and it did. I created a system behind it to make sure that every single person got every single piece of value they needed from where they are. So now we were seeing less of those outreaches where, are these Liberty Caps? Please, person, can you answer me? Can you be my personal identificator? And then just say if these are Liberty Caps. If you get 25 of those every 4 hours, trust me, you want to figure out a way to not have that happening. Sorry, this is a trigger point for some reason. This group has been the biggest blessing and the biggest pain in my ass for years now. Because every time I try to add value to it, people attack me. They will pull me down. And I see now that there's a pattern. Most Norwegians are victimized pussies. I'm not saying pussies as in the general. Pussycats. Kittens. We used to be the conquering Vikings. Now we are victimized, self-obsessed, egotistical, materialistically induced, fucking offensive and offended people that you can think of. We went to be pacified kittens. Most of us. We will complain about what we don't have. If we don't get enough free money from the government, we will complain about that as well. Because we have a right. And we don't see it. Just today, I saw a person who's saying, oh, my big toe is hurting. It's hurting! And he posts that on Facebook. I was like, And then the comment says, you should just take 10 milligrams of this. That worked for me at least. A doctor told me, and I was listening in the waiting room as he was talking to another patient. So I heard that, and I did it, and it worked. Hearsay. And then you see all the other comments just continuing that same thing, that same trend. People talking about what kind of medication they're taking for their ailments. I have ADHD, so I will take this Ritalin right now. I have a little pain in my shoulders. I will take some Neurontin. You know, I did everything that I could to stop any pharmaceutical freaking medication. Because of my blood clot, I wanted to remove it completely. There had to be a natural remedy for this because nature is where the source is for the fucking medication to be fabricated. Right? Now they're fucking gonna create a 0G pharmaceutical factory in space. Damn. Don't get me started on the jabs and all that stuff. The thing is, I wanted to stop my blood thinners. I was prescribed with a lifetime prescription or lifetime treatment of the blood clot in the shape of blood thinners, Maravan. Over years, those will start etching on the blood clot or in the blood veins from the inside out. They actually use the same compound in rat poison so that they will bleed out from the inside. It wasn't comfortable knowing that I had that in my body. So of course I did 12 grams of Semilanceata. 12 dried grams of Semilanceata. Mismeasured, none the least. I had never taken that dose, so I was boiling up water, I was cooling it down, I was siphoning it off, and I drank about a liter, I think. A liter of water. 12 grams. It was not pleasant. So I learned. But the entire intention of that trip was to face my death to the degree where I was comfortable stopping the pills so that I could leave my family. Basically, it was the same as leaving my family on top of a fucking cliff, jumping off, hoping that there would be water underneath the clouds. Just accepting death completely. I did, but I didn't stop the pills. Not until recently, like this last month, actually. And that made some weird things happen in my body, but that's not the point. I wanted to really paint the picture of how easy it is to take a pill in this country, where people will just either get a handout in terms of money, or they will go and get some fucking pill because they're told to take that pill, or they will do all these different things that is based on the laws that is just not making sense at all. I don't know how much you've known or researched the actual legality and the law, the reason for the law behind this mushroom. 1971, Nixon, the war of drugs, all of these different things. We're not going to go into that right now, but there are so many things that just did not make sense. Why ban a thing that could save lives in the amount of lives that it could do? Like, I've seen things that should not be possible, according to mainstream science and medication, but it is. If you think it's possible and don't judge it and just condemn it down and out because you don't think it is possible. People have that weird tendency of giving advice based on their life experience and their lack of belief. But let's continue. We have been talking for 1.5 hours. I've been talking. You have been freaking patient. Go you. Goddamn. You're a trooper. But we all have a choice. That's my point. Goddamn, it's like I planned this. We have a choice. We could choose to sit at home and complain on our smartphone that we don't have the money we want while we're watching the 5th rerun of Breaking Bad, eating a bag of chips, and just having to continue watching. Like, are you still watching this? Yes! This is like the 15th time you asked me. Stop. I am the danger. You know what I mean. It's so insane to think about the fact that people are complaining about so many weird things. And I guess at some point you just see it. That's my point with the frequency. I have this, what is it called? What would I call that? Mission, I guess. To just chase the next frequency. It's not about reaching a goal for me. It's not about having X, Y, Z. It's about seeing if I can get that level of frequency to go even higher, because isn't that going to be an adventure, you know? And then when that happens, it seems like you can see straight through the bullshit of other people. I start sniffing thoughts. Like, I started to really hear thoughts that was not my own. I didn't hear it either. It was not like an image, but not an image. It was like a sensation. Like when you watch the sun and you close your eyes and then, oh, God, my eyes are closed, but that's the sun. Pretty. You know? I started to see things, feel things that I'd never felt before. But it was because I started to chase the frequency and do things that I really aligned with me. I was not sitting at home complaining and just bored out of my mind, being a consumer of everything, instead of actually creating and providing value and, doing something. To be here. To live instead of exist. To fly instead of just die. Walk the talk. Do the spew. I wanted to really show people what was possible. And I think I did that just through the 100-day challenge. And when people know about my story and where I am right now, 2 days ago I signed an NDA. That is a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't talk about that. I can, however, say that it is worth 7 figures. That means above $100 million. That's interesting. But because I've done so many things, talked to so many people, experienced so many things, I also know to not expect anything. So I live right now. And I'm very conscious about what I think about because, as you heard earlier, shit has a tendency to happen when you start thinking at these levels. So I just stay here, I do the next thing, and I just marvel at what is possible in the world today. But I have to have fun. Life is an adventure. If I don't have fun, if I don't vibe high, if I don't love what I do, if I don't love my life, if I have shit that I complain about, then I should fix it. Oh, I wish I played the guitar. Get a guitar. Wish I read more. Get a library card, you warrior, you. You know, we have the choice to go from pain to power, mess to message, worrier to warrior. All these fancy things that rhymes, and I feel good about saying them. We have a choice. We can do that. And today, this is a very organic, this is a very organic picture. This was taken midair, which means that in about a second after that picture was taken, I ate sand, and I was hurt. But today, you don't have to hurt yourself. You don't have to do things that is going to put your life at risk to create something amazing. Because we have something that everyone fears. Everyone fears it. Some people use it. And some people dodge it. And some people simply don't understand it, so they mock it. It is, of course,
The artificial intelligence.
this is the last slide. I'm just saying that with everything that we have available today, where you can literally go into the chatbot, that is free. Ask it any question that you want, and then have it answer it step by step, and actually implementing the things step by step. Being able to go as deep as you want. That's what she said. Step by step. There are no excuses. I can literally go to a web page right now that creates web pages in 10 to 30 seconds. So if I have any experience, if I have any knowledge, if I have any value, if I want to do any good by this world, maybe it would be a good idea to share that with the world. You know, people don't read as much anymore. You know that most of us are here because stories were translated or transmitted from one generation to the other. And then we started to write. So we created books that was translated and transmitted from one generation to another. And so the knowledge grew. And we started to really grow as a species because the knowledge were transmitted. And then internet came. And all of a sudden, we could do that real time. I could fart on a fucking mountaintop in Norway and can hear it in Japan. That is fucking magic. But for some reason, people got more lazy at that point. So no more knowledge. Now the elders are less and less sharing their wisdom and insights and knowledge to the generation that comes, because the generation to come is very, entitled. They don't want to do any work. So they just expect everything to work out because they're not going to do shit about actually doing that. But someone will, I'm sure of it. Today, I believe that we have a fucking responsibility to share our knowledge in the best way we can with the platform we have available. If you don't, you're a fucking douchebag. Mic drop. I have kids, and I see that if they don't get every fucking piece of help they can, generations will fall. Look at the American president. Case closed. We are living in a very upside down clown world, and I think it is time to learn new things. Instead of the shit and the propaganda that we learn in school, I'm not saying that school is a bad thing if you learn math and writing and arithmetic, but if you learn about the World War and every single detail about it, and how you're supposed to follow one religion, and how you're supposed to do this, that, and the other, and your creativity is drained out of your asshole, I don't think that is a very good and conscious, constructive way to do things. But then again, conscious is not probably the right word to use in that setting. People don't know what they don't know until they know. So if you don't have the experience that tells you that it is possible to be in a different level of mind, of course you're not going to think that you can. You can't intellectually learn love. You have to feel love. And you have to feel love at whatever frequency you're able to receive love. So if you're only been in a destructive relationship, you will only see love as that, if that has been what you've been taught. But if you're getting aware that there are new things that you can learn, other things that goes more into yourself and your accountability and responsibility to become the best version of yourself to actually heal a planet, then you can start seeing different aspects of reality and learn things that is actually going to set you free. I woke up about around my 30s, 28-ish. That was because at that point I had had a whole bunch of trauma, a whole bunch of pain and shit that happened. But I woke up. Now I see my 5-year-old understanding quantum physics. Of course, she's not talking about quantum superposition or entanglement or the law of relativity or anything, but she is awake and she's using the principles of quantum physics, like the power of love and how energy attracts more of the same, and how if you don't spit other people in the face, you're less likely to get that in your face back. You know, kind of powerful but yet common sense stuff. She's talking in a way that I've never experienced anyone do. She's creative, empathic. She's the most awake person that I've ever seen at that age. She's 5 years old. Think of that and then add 15 years to it. Now you have a very, very powerful 20-year-old with the entire life ahead of them, able to create and manifest the reality they want because they're using the resources available and know that they have to put in the work to actually achieve some sort of a change. Like Nike says, just do it. We have the ability to create anything we want, but we have to know that we are, or be open towards it. This, everything, all of this happened because of fucking magic mushroom for me. Actually, not, no. That was a shortcut. I think I would be one of the few people who actually says that if you want to do mushrooms, don't do mushrooms. Almost. Until you know yourself. Start with the personal development, and then afterwards, when you feel called to do it, that it is not just an escape or a recreational drug in a party or whatever, then I think that you're good to go. I'm not saying that you shouldn't just use it as a drug. I just despise the disrespect that is, the blasphemy that is being given. And that is my humble opinion. You might get offended by that because maybe you use it for an escape. Maybe you use it for other things that I do. But I think that it is a very versatile tool and that anyone can use it to achieve anything. What you choose to achieve as, or what you choose to achieve with this, completely up to you. I just know that we all have a choice. That's it. If you want to know more about anything, I think you know how to reach me. A DM could take months for me to answer sometimes, but go to the website, check out things, and I can promise you an adventure that you will never forget because things are happening at a rate that I can't really fathom at the moment. So I'm just creating stuff just to have fun. I'm just talking because I want. It's currently 3:33 a.m. Huh, what a coinkydink. Interesting. Almost like a coincidence. I have so much that I'm gonna share over the next few days, weeks, months, years, that I'm kind of overwhelmed as to what's gonna happen. But then again, I'm not gonna think about that. I am going to wish you a fantastic day. I hope you had any value from this. This was just a fraction. That's interesting. I've talked for almost 2 hours, and this was put together in 10 minutes. As you saw, 26 slides, just a picture on either of them. Just pictures and a dude talking from history or experience, just reminiscing. Thank you for listening to my rambles. The tales, actually, the legends of legacy. The tales of perseverance. Love your face. Take care of your freaking family. I'll see you in the next one. Should I go for this? Yeah, fuck it. No, that was the wrong one. But now we have an end screen, so I'm gonna go for that, and then I just coincidentally made my job easier in post because I don't like to edit. I like to just speak from the heart. Maybe you noticed. But until next time, I see your face. Go make a choice that is gonna better your life. And have a fantastic adventure doing it.